I'm going to make you a promise. When this episode is over, you will know the root causes of your struggles and your successes. And here's the deal. I'm going to prove it not based on my story or people you've never met, but based on the results of your life. As a result of that, you will know the first or the next steps that you must take in order for you to get unstuck and start improving your life. I will get you unstuck, but first you must admit that you are
Stuck. A Delaneyism that describes you if you're frustrated because your results do not match your talents and abilities. You, my friend, are stuck if you know what you want. You know what to do to get what you want. And you have what it takes to get what you want. Yet you have very little of what you want because you are, in fact, stuck. I find it interesting that Mark A. Delaney is the only trainer I know of that deals with this punishing problem. Won't you join me as Mark creatively portrays the frustration that goes along with being stuck?
For those of you keeping score at home, that was not the real Morgan Freeman. But I love his voice and I wanted it to be a part of my podcast. Welcome to the Cure for the Common Struggle. This is episode number 2. And I'm going to introduce you to the core mission, the way I help you to identify, understand, and eliminate your common struggles, the ones that are keeping you stuck. Today, we go deeper. In this episode, I'm going to give you your wake-up call. And I'm going to share with you 3 of the most pivotal and life-changing concepts you will ever learn. That's it. That's all I'm going to do in this episode. So, the most critical moment of your life. The first thing I'm going to teach you is the most critical moment of your life is the next moment of truth in your life. I'll explain what that means. I'm going to show you your primary operating system that helps you to act out of love or react out of fear. But the first thing I want to teach you today is no matter where you are, no matter how high or high low, if you want better, you must get started from where you are without shame. I can't emphasize that enough. You have to get started from where you are without shame. And that's what I'm doing. I want you to know that I'm starting from where I am in creating this podcast and improving my life without shame. In fact, I'm going to share stuff with you that in the past I might have been ashamed of, but I'm not anymore because I'm starting from where I am and I want you to do the same thing. So, last episode, I told you that in 2023, my father slowly passed away after an 8-year battle with a stroke, after having a stroke and knee replacements. And then I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and went through entire 2024 dealing with cancer treatment and recovering from cancer treatment. So I'm basically starting over in life. I lost all my clients. I lost basically everything. And now I'm starting all over at 64 years old. And the only thing I have going for me is my experience and all I've learned through the previous 60 years of my life. So, I'm in the studio right now, and those of you watching can see I'm in a spare room of my house, spare room where I live. There's curtains. There's a twin bed where people sleep on when they visit. There's all this stuff. There's stuff on my wall, but I don't have fancy microphones, fancy cameras. Do have pretty good software on my computer, but this is my studio. If I had to wait until I could afford a studio that I really want, I would never get started. And I think you do the same thing. I need you to understand something. When you lose all your clients, you have to do something for cash flow. So I drive Uber. Till this day, I still drive Uber for cash flow. I don't love it, but I need cash flow. So that's what I'm doing. I'm starting from where I am. In the past couple of months, I've gotten a few clients. Okay. So I got some clients. I got some cash flow coming in from that, but not enough to support myself or live the life I truly want to live. So two of the things that I'm doing is I have a plan to make 10 contacts every day, Monday through Saturday. 10 people. I'm going to contact them. 5 first time, 5 follow up. And then I'm doing this podcast, which right now has very few listeners and followers, except for the people I send it to directly. And I'm telling you this without shame. This is where I'm at, and I'm doing it without shame. So at some point throughout this podcast, I will share with you my cancer journey and what I went through and all the stuff that happens. But the main thing I want you to understand with this episode is, what is your reason to start from where you are? Is there something you want more out of life? Is there something you want to fix? Are you tired of being frustrated, broke, unhealthy, overweight, out of shape, working in a career you don't want? Whatever it is, you have to want something. And I'm encouraging you right now to start getting that something from where you are without shame. So here's my reason. In addition to small things like not wanting to drive Uber anymore, wanting to make more money, wanting to impact the world, I want to be, in fact, no, I am committed to being financially worthy of marrying my lady. I legitimately want to take care of us financially for the rest of our lives, but I don't want to, live paycheck to paycheck. I want us to travel. I want us to have fun together. I want to be able to help her retire. My public commitment to anyone who's hearing this is my reason for wanting to make this successful and be successful in life is I'm doing it for the woman I love. What's your reason? Do you have something you want better than what you have right now? Because this is the first step to doing it, starting where you are without shame. Here's the deal. So if you are ashamed of something in your life, your body, your income, your finances, a relationship, whatever it is, and you do nothing about it, aren't you really deciding to live with and hide and live forever in that shame? If you never, first of all, admit it to yourself, maybe admit it to people close to you, you don't have to go public like I'm doing it. But if you're ashamed of something, something is not right in your life, and you do nothing about it, aren't you deciding to live forever with that shame? Forever hiding, hoping that no one figures it out, dealing with the problems and struggles that come from what's wrong with your life? And so all I'm saying is, to yourself, make a decision. Get started from where you are without shame. It's going to be the theme throughout every episode of this podcast. Whenever you come and hear me talk, you're going to hear me talk about get started from where you are and do it without shame. The second thing I want to talk to you about today is something I call the moment of truth, or the moments of truth in all of our lives. And moments of truth happen all the time. Some are more significant than others. But the main thing is it's the moment when you have to either make a decision, take a definitive action, say something that needs to be said, or ask for something you dearly want or need. We're going to talk about this throughout every episode of the podcast, but here's some examples. Exercise time. That's a moment of truth. Do you exercise or do you come up with an excuse? How you handle spending money. You know you shouldn't spend and you do it anyway. That's a moment of truth. Deciding what to eat. Smoking. Doing drugs. Drinking alcohol. All those things are moments of truth in your life. All of those things are specific choices that turn or move your life in a specific direction. How about having a rough conversation with someone? Sometimes you just need to challenge people on what they're going to do, what you're doing, what you need to do. Got to challenge people sometimes. You got to have a tough conversation. How about saying yes or no? When you're supposed to say yes and when you're supposed to say no. And wherever it is that you're stuck right now, doing that which you know will improve your life is, or whether you don't do it, is your moment of truth. Without realizing them, we have moments of truth all the time. Decisions we need to make, action we need to take, things we need to say. And I'm telling you, in those moments of truth, you determine your future. I had a friend, he used to always say, we used to hang out, he used to be driving home from work or whatever, he'd say, "Oh, Mark, I made a left when I should have made a right. Right was home to his wife and kids, left was someplace he shouldn't have been going." And as a result, bad things have happened in his marriage and his former marriage. And you get the idea what I'm saying. You do it too. You have moments of truth, and that is a key component of getting unstuck, making the hard, the tough, the uncomfortable choices, actions, words, or asking for what you want is hard, but it's a moment of truth in your life. My confessing to you that I'm in this crappy studio, that I lost all my clients, that's a moment of truth for me because I think it makes this podcast more real for you. So far, we've talked about two things. We talked about starting from where you are without shame. And we talked about moments of truth in your life when you get to determine whether you start from where you are or you have an excuse, a reason, a justification, or whatever it is to put it off until later. But here's the real deal and why, what we're going to talk about in this episode. It is the determining factor that goes on in your mind, possibly without you knowing it, that determines how you respond at the moments of truth in your life. That determines whether or not you will ever start from where you are and how you handle your shame and other struggles and problems that you have in your life. And when I understood this, when I got this, it made a tremendous impact in my life. I hope it makes the same thing in your life. It is what I call the foundation of your life, your decisions, your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your words, and your questions. So everything you think is based on this foundation. Every choice you make is based on this foundation. Every action you take is based on this foundation. Everything you say to others, everything you ask for of others, including yourself, what you ask of yourself, all is formed from these two primal forces in every animal's life. So whether it's us, whether it's your pet dog or fish or gerbil or hamster, whether it's the animals of the forest, the birds of the air, the fish in the sea, we all operate in one of two primal forces. And that is called procreation or survival. We're all trying to create something or we're trying to survive with what we have. Those forces shape every decision. They're built into our DNA. Now, we as human beings take it a step further than your pets or than animals of the forest or birds of the air or fish of the sea. We take it to the element of what I call love versus fear. And I need you to understand this. It's very, very important. At the moments of your life, you either act out of love or let's take procreation. You want to create something. Everything you do out of love is to create something new or better. The opposite, survival, is for us humans reacting out of fear. Do you get it? Everything that you do is based on your creating something, obtaining something, loving something, going after that which you want, or is based on your fear of losing something, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection, fear of failure. So you act differently when you're reacting out of fear than you do when you are creating out of love. That's what this episode is about. We're going to talk about it extensively in this episode, but if you don't get the power of moments of truth in your life, as well as starting from where you are without shame, then you're really listening based on fear. So I need you to understand that these forces, whether you're reacting out of fear or acting out of love, are tied to the person you're becoming and the life you're creating. And that, my friends, is a preview of what we're going to talk about in episode 3. Because I'm going to share with you something called the 3 versions of you, where you literally get to decide in the future, moving forward, am I going to just react out of fear, or am I going to act out of love and create the life I truly want to live? The rest of this episode is about what fear looks like, what it sounds like, what love looks like, and what love sounds like. So, fear in action. What is fear in action? It's procrastination. Why do we procrastinate? Because we're afraid to do something. One of my biggest things that I'm working on avoiding is overthinking. I can think my way into 100 scenarios and options and never do anything about what I think about. And I'm working on fixing me so I don't do that. Starting where I am without shame. Perfectionism. If it's not perfect, I'm not introducing it. Nope. This podcast, I'm in a studio that's ugly, unattractive, and very what the big guys have. But if you wait for perfection to happen, if you wait for the right time, it's out of fear and the right time will never come. Settling for less than your best, avoiding something, protecting by hanging on or clinging to someone or something. So I really need you to understand that fear looks like you either avoiding doing what you need to do, or you're clinging and hanging on something that you don't want to lose. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a thing, no matter what it is, this is fear in action. And one of the ways that we self-sabotage ourselves is through our fears. And so I want to take a moment and I want to highlight some of fear's favorite disguises. What do I mean by that? Sometimes fear just seems so logical. It only makes sense. I don't do this thing. Common sense. Is it common sense? Is it possible? And, well, for my safety, you will stop doing something that you really want to do, that you know you should do, that will make your life better, not out of what you think is fear, but fear disguising itself as logic, common sense, that's not possible, or just your own overall safety. And I will tell you that one of my promises of this episode is where you look at your life, where you live out of fear, you experience lack, you experience struggle, you experience failure, you experience a totally unfulfilled existence, and where you live in love, you experience success, growth, and your life is improving. So I want you to think about, if fear looks like what I just described, where you do this, where you procrastinate, where you overthink, where you're a perfectionist, where you disguise yourself as logic, common sense, what's possible, where you self-sabotage yourself. How's your life? What are the results of your life in those areas? In relationships, with finances, with your career, with the body and the health. As you think about that, I want to shift to something, what love looks like. What does love actually look like? Love in action is a bold decision. It's having honest conversations with people. It's the courage for you to choose, to act, to speak up for what you believe in, and to question others when you think they're doing something wrong, or to question the motives of others, or to just ask those tough questions that we have to ask of our children, our partners, our spouses, whoever. Love in action is, number one, I believe it's a responsibility for us to love, to pursue life with love. It's also about curiosity, to be willing to ask a question. Hey, how can I make this work? To be curious about other people and what they're going through so you can get better and help them get better. It's about empathy. loving other people for who they are and where they are. It doesn't mean you have to go along with them, but empathy is loving others and trying to understand them. That's loving. And then there's innovation. Innovation is your key to success. So last week, in episode number 1, I previewed the idea that we need to form 5 types of habits out of love. Habits of thought, right? Do you think negatively out of fear, or do you think positively out of love? Making choices. Do we make our choices based on what we want, or are all of our choices based on what we don't want to have happen? I don't want to fail. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to get hurt. Or is it based on, I want success, I want more, I want a better job, a better career, better income, a better relationship? And then we take actions. Do we form habits out of fear, where we're just tied up, constricted, basically not doing anything where we could get rejected out of fear? Or do we do things that are bold and where we want to learn and be curious about how to get things better? Same thing is true with our words and with our questions. So in life, you're choosing one of 2 paths. Now, admittedly, you can choose a path in one part of your life and a different path in another part of your life. And this is why I say, where you are successful, you are choosing the path of love. Where you struggle, you are choosing the path of fear. So I want to just basically close out the podcast or end with the next thing, which is, hey, what does fear sound like? Do you know what I mean? What does fear actually sound like? Both when I'm talking to myself, that voice in your head, and when I'm talking to other people. So when you say things like, I don't have time right now. What if I fail? I'll start someday. People like me can't, or people like me shouldn't, or people like me. Those are what fear sounds like. So I'm a black man. I'm 64 years old. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. I can come up with every single justification excuse for why I shouldn't be starting this podcast. But I'm here because this is what love sounds like. And whether you're talking to yourself or others, love sounds like, I can figure this out. This matters enough to me that I'm going to try. And I'm going to make progress, even if I'm not perfect at first. So ultimately, when I say to you, at the moment of truth, when this podcast is over for you, I want you to start creating a better life from where you are without shame. You have a voice in your head that's telling you either things out of love to say you can do it, or things out of fear saying why not to do it. And so you have this thing in your mind, in your brain, in your being. You want to create, or you want to protect or avoid. Love equals action. Fear equals avoidance. Every time you choose to take a proactive, positive, powerful, bold action, you are choosing love. And every time that you delay, deny, distract, avoid, you are choosing fear. And I make the case that if you look at your life in all honesty, where you love, you have success, you have joy, and you have peace in your life. Where you choose fear, you have struggle, you have stress, and you have loss in your life. I'm guaranteeing you that, and I wish that wherever you watch this podcast, you would comment if I'm telling the truth or not. Wherever you are in life, reach out to me somehow and tell me if that statement isn't true. Where you love, you have success, joy, and peace. Where you fear, you have struggle, you have stress, and you have loss in your life. So in every episode, we do something very interesting, and that is we give you what I call 3 steps to getting better. And each week it'll be a different topic. Last week it was 3 steps to start taking better care of your body. This week is 3 steps to get a little better every day and in every way as a part of your moment of truth of starting from where you are, even if you're uncomfortable. So the first thing is tonight or first thing in the morning, I want you to ask yourself a question. What went well today, or what did I suck at today? So it's an evaluation of today. What did I do well, or what did I suck at? And no matter what answer you come up with, no matter what you chose, the next question is, how can I do better tomorrow? And so let's say you're talking about you had a moment of truth and you failed. You didn't do what you said you would do. So what I suck at today, I was supposed to do A and instead I did B. How can I do better? You write it down. How can I do better? And then when you decide how you can do better, question number 3. So question number 1 is ask yourself what went well today or what did I suck at today? Question 2, how can I do better tomorrow? And question 3, what can I do now to remember how to do better tomorrow? So I just want you to think about that. You identify, I really sucked at this. So what can I do to do better? I will do this so that tomorrow or later today, I will do better. What can I do to remember that? Because how many times do we write a plan and we forget it? So what can I do now? Do I need to put something in my calendar book? Do I need to write myself a note? Do I need to get someone to hold me accountable? What do I need to do? That is today's 3 steps to creating a better life. This case is how to get a little better every day and every now. I want you to picture you go out and you do something today and you absolutely suck at it. I mean, you are terrible. You embarrass yourself. You look foolish. You're embarrassed. And so normally what people will do is they will say, okay, I'm never going to do that again. But you're going to ask, how can I do better tomorrow? And I promise you, if you ask this question with an expectation of an answer, you will figure out a way to do better tomorrow. And then, what can I do now so I remember to do better tomorrow is creating a plan of action. And if you do this every day, you'll take something you absolutely suck at, and you will become a person who sucks less at it, a person who doesn't suck at all, a person who's good, a person who's better, and a person who becomes great at it. If you did this every day at something you presently struggle with or suck at. So I hope that makes sense. That, my friends, is this podcast, episode 2. I'm encouraging you, not just in this episode, in every episode, to get started from where you are without shame. You learned about the moments of truth in your life, and you learned that the guiding forces in your life are whether you act out of love or you react out of fear. All of those conversations could be hours long, but I only had about 30 minutes. And hopefully I gave you a good summary. Now, in future episodes, we'll go into more detail about aspects of it. But right now, I want to give you kind of chapters in a book. In episode 1 was kind of an introduction, an overview of what I want to do in this podcast. In episode 2, we're talking about 3 things. Just get started from where you are without shame. Number 2, you're going to have moments of truth in your life. Make sure you make the right choice, the right decision, say the right words, ask the right questions, do the right thing. And then we talked about the basis upon which you will make those decisions are whether you act out of love for what you want to create or whether you react out of fear for what you want to avoid happening in your life. So, in the next episode, episode 3, we're going to talk about the 3 versions of you. And that is from you as a child to you as a trained adult who learned how to live out of fear, to avoid judgment, failure, rejection, to being an awakened individual who acts out of love. We're going to show you how to make that transition and help you to understand and define what I'm going to call version 3.0 of you. you'll learn. You're living right now in version 2.0, or maybe it's 2.1 or 2.7, but you're living in that version. I want to show you version 3.0, the man or the woman who makes all of her choices, decisions, actions, thoughts, words, and questions based on loving and going after what you want instead of fearing and trying to protect what little you have. So here's the deal. When this podcast ends, you have a moment of truth. And that is, you can either decide to move forward with your life, to make that decision you've been avoiding, take the action you've been avoiding, say something to someone you've been avoided, or stick in fear and keep doing what you've been doing. You know, it might be a phone call, a decision, someone's breaking through your boundaries that you don't want them to do, or a commitment to finally begin that you are going to choose to live and create the life you truly want to live. So whatever it is, choose love. Don't choose tomorrow. Don't wait until it feels more comfortable. You feel like you're ready. It's never going to get easier. Start right now. And if this hit home with you, you know what? I bet you know someone who should hear this message today. So don't just consume it, share it, and then you act on it. However you're watching, subscribe, review, share with others, and then come back next week. We drop every Thursday morning, and find out which version you're living right now. Version 1.0, version 2.0, and I'll show you how to create version 3.0. My name is Mark Delaney. I want to be your biggest supporter and help you create the life you truly want to live. And today, I showed you 3 things. Start from where you are without fear. The moments of truth in your life are what really matters. And number 3, you're either acting out of love of what you want, or you're reacting out of fear of what you want to avoid.
All I can say is, wow. I told you Mark was unique in his approach. You will never get what you want as long as you are stuck. Is this your time to get unstuck?